Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's launch of Saving Lieutenant Kennedy, the heroic story of the Australian who helped rescue JFK. Thank you so much for coming tonight and giving up your opportunity to go trick-or-treating. It's amazing. It's amazing how popular that event and the reach of America's soft power is, that my children are, of course, not learning about Australia-US history. They are gorging on sweets and all manner of other mischiefs. It is wonderful to see so many of you here tonight at tonight's book launch. I would like to mention a few very, very special guests. My board members, David Kemp and Jeff Hone, former senators, Julian McGauran and Mitch Fifield, Master of Queen's College, Stuart Gill, member supporters of the Robert Menzies Institute, and our Japarut Club members who really do make all that we can do possible. And of course, our very special guest speaker tonight, Peter Costello. It's great to have you here. The Robert Menzies Institute, for those of you who are new to us, we are Australia's 6th Prime Ministerial Library and Museum. There are museums for Bob Hawke, John Curtin, Alfred Deakin, Gough Whitlam and John Howard. But despite Robert Menzies being our longest serving Prime Minister, and I would argue our greatest Prime Minister, it took a fair amount of time to stand this museum up, and we did this in April 2021. We work across museums and curation, research, schools program and education with high school students, as well as hold a range of public events and produce a massive amount of online content, which I highly recommend you dipping into when you have the chance. We celebrate the life, legacy and ideas of Robert Menzies and the enduring impact his ideas and his legacy has on us to this day. He is, as you know, Australia's longest serving Prime Minister, and of course that period from 1949 to 66, when he won 7 elections, is unequalled, it's unparalleled. What is less commonly known, and it's extraordinary, even in our school curriculum it's barely touched on, is that he was a wartime Prime Minister from 1939 to 41. John Curtin is often remembered as the great wartime leader of Australia, but it was Robert Menzies and his government who really set Australia up for the Pacific War and the threats that would come from Japan. In those 2 years, almost 2 years, he was Prime Minister. He set up the Empire Air Training Scheme. He built an army of 130,000 men, introduced compulsory service, built aircraft and munitions factories, and developed a shipbuilding program. He had to resign in 1941, and of course, as you know, John Curtin eventually took over, and we were delivered the peace finally in 1945. When Menzies became Prime Minister in 1949, he, with his External Affairs Minister Percy Spender, embarked on efforts to join Australia in an alliance with the United States, the ANZUS. And in his retirement in 1966, he said that was his greatest legacy. Now, arguments can be had about what was his greatest legacy, but he was rightly proud of the ANZUS, and it is ensured that Australia has the support of its great and powerful friend in the United States. As Prime Minister, Menzies met and dealt with 5 US presidents. Can you believe that? Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, of course, who we will speak about tonight, and Johnson. Menzies met US President Kennedy for the first time in 1961. And on this occasion at the White House in the Oval Office, Kennedy regaled Menzies with the story about which we'll hear more tonight. And he quipped that it was Australia that was responsible, in a way, for his administration. We're very proud. We exhibit quite a lot of items from the Menzies collection here in our museum, and quite a few of them are from JFK to Robert Menzies with lovely inscriptions. We are very pleased, Brett, to be hosting your launch tonight. It's your first book launch and you're doing a massive tour around Australia talking about this beautifully, beautifully written book. I have not been I would say I haven't dipped into the military history genre much myself until I read this book, but I found this an absolutely gripping, brilliant read. It's beautifully written, and it tells a story about, I think, a very little known personality and contributor to our war effort in the Coast Watchers. But it is a particular honour to have Peter Costello here to launch the book. I do not need to introduce Peter very much, but I will remind you that he is Australia's longest serving Treasurer. He brought down 12 consecutive federal budgets, including 10 surpluses. Do you remember those? During that period, he eliminated Commonwealth government debt in net terms. Again, that's a memory we look wistfully upon, and introduced the largest tax reform in Australian history. He is currently Chairman of the Australian Future Fund and Chairman of the Nine Entertainment Corporation. Thank you, Peter.